Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'll be talking about another derivative rule called the product rule. So in this video I'll be teaching you what the product rule is and how to use it with several examples. So that being said, let's jump right into the blackboard. Alright, let's start with the formal definition of what the product rule is. So let me just write this down for you. So the formal definition of the product rule is when you try to differentiate a product of two functions. So you can write it such as this: f prime of x times g of x. So the derivative of a product of two functions is equal to the first function times the derivative of the second function plus the derivative of the first function times the second function. Now, of course, you could switch this up because it's just the sum of the two functions. And I'll be teaching you how to use this in some examples, which I'll show you right now. So let's say that we have a function, f of x is equal to x squared plus 5x times x cubed minus 2. Now let's try to find f prime of x. Now, of course, you can distribute this, FOIL it, and then you could use the power rule. But this may save you some time, so let's use the product rule. So let's consider this our first function and this our second function. So let's take the derivative of the second function and multiply it with the first. So that's just going to be x squared plus 5x, because that's the first function. We leave it as is. Then we multiply it by the derivative of the second function, which is just going to be 3x squared. And because this is a constant, it just turns it into 0, so we don't have to write that. Plus the derivative of the first function, 2x plus 5. Now remember, you guys don't have to use a product rule when there's a constant in front of a single variable. Just remember that the variable goes away if it's raised to the first power, okay? Then we multiply it by the second function. Now you can leave your answer like this, or you could rearrange it. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to make you rewrite this into its simplest form. We're just going to leave it as is for right now. So let's move on to our second example. Let's say f of x is equal to 6x squared minus 5x, excuse that, times x squared minus 2x plus 2. Now, of course, you can kind of see these functions are starting to get longer, and as they get longer they get more difficult to FOIL. So when you start to see functions like this and product of two functions like this, that's when you start to think product rule, okay? So let's find f prime of x, or the derivative. Let's apply the product rule here again. We leave the first function as is, multiply it by the derivative of the second function, 2x minus 2, remember the rule about constants, plus the derivative of the first function, which is just me 12x minus 5, times the second function. Now again, I'm going to leave it as this, and the AP exam will most likely not ask you to simplify it any further than this. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now let's move on to our last example. Let's say that f of x is going to be equal to 6x to the fifth minus 9 times x to the fourth plus 3x squared. Let's find f prime of x using the product rule once again. Again, as you probably have recognized by now, we leave the first function as is, so 6x to the fifth minus 9 times the derivative of this, 4x cubed plus 6x plus the derivative of the first function, which is going to be 30x to the fourth minus 0. So just ignore this, as I said before, times the second function. Now again, we're going to leave it just like this. So as you can see, you might want to start using the power rule when you have to differentiate a function that has more than two terms on each function, because you don't really want to waste your time foiling each term and then finally using the power rule, because remember, you only have a limited amount of time on the AP exam. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next video.